we're not trying to rub it in to those of you back in Reds country, but our March to opening day is underway. Beautiful Goodyear, Arizona. Temperatures up above 80 degrees. And today at Goodyear Park, the San Diego Padres taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. It seemed like every other week there was a new sign made by the Reds in off-season this year during free agency. And one of the big names, he will be leading off today and playing center field coming over from Japan, Shogo Akiyama. What have you seen out of him?
Well, I've seen exactly what the Reds have hoped to see out of a veteran who comes over after 10 years or more in the Japanese Professional League. He's an on-base percentage guy. He plays good defense. He's got a little bit above average speed. And he's a guy that's really going to solidify, I think, David Bell's plans at the very top of the lineup.
He will be in the lineup and playing center field here today. And, you know, when you look at his swing and you watch him, I mean, is there any way to project what kind of offensive player you mentioned getting on base he might be?
Well, you know, you're not really looking for power out of Akiyama. I mean, he's a guy that's more on base. He's going to slap the ball. He'll adjust with 2 strikes, which is something a lot of American baseball players don't do nowadays. I mean, they sit back looking for the home run, but you want somebody who can get on base. Akiyama and his approach might be exactly what the Reds need.
And on the mound for the Redlegs, an all-star a season ago, lights out. The right-hander Luis Castillo. We have the first pitch, Reds and the Padres, coming up next.
Reds and Padres from beautiful Goodyear, Arizona, coming up here on Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day. We're down here with Derek Dietrich getting ready to take the field, and I always feel good when Castillo's on the mound.
Oh, yeah. I've seen a lot of him. I'm excited to be playing behind him today. Louis, man. He's unbelievable. So is Kyle Farmer, man of all talents. And, we're looking to go out there and play hard today. Thanks, guys. Feeling good. And let's get another win for the Reds. Let's go. Ready to have some fun. Let's go.
There you go.
Wow.
Need I say more?
Hey, G-Day, how you day today, G-Day?
Oh, wait a minute. Bring it back. Bring it back, Jim.
Hold on.
Bring it back. Come on.
Suarez.
He always likes coming over. Come on. Come on, it's a Jim Day.
What do you got,
get
Suarez?
one before we go to break.
How you day today, G-Day?
Day's better now. My day's made.
That is the best, man. We got to go on every day with that.
Hey, Derek Johnson, pitching coach for the Reds with Luis Castillo on the mound, and this 5 starting pitchers they're going to roll out in 2019. Why not be excited?
Why not be excited is right. You know, Chris,
you look at it on paper and you kind of stack the 5, and I'm going to include Tyler Mahle in that too, because I think there's some really special stuff yet to come for him. So, looking at it on paper and kind of stacking them up against the rest of the league, I mean, I'm gonna say that they're as good as anyone.
La Piedra is what they call him after a rough start to spring training, which is nothing new. He didn't have a great spring training last year. Ready to rock and roll, though, today against Padres.
well, what a year he had in 2019. A career-high 218 strikeouts, and Chris, 155 of those, major league leading, came via the changeup.
That's a great pitch, but it takes a fastball to set up the changeup. I think it's fair to group him in with, the top echelon pitchers in the National League. Guys like Max Scherzer, Steven Strasburg, Jacob deGrom, guys that you would be in the Cy Young Award race. I mean, Sonny Gregg's in that list as well.
Without a doubt.
You may say that Castillo has really arrived. What they did last year was have him try to work on a slider in spring training. Same thing this year. They're trying to get that slider to work a little bit. But bottom line is bottom line for Castillo. When he gets that combination, fastball, changeup working, that's maybe the best 2-pitch combination in all of baseball.
All righty, here we go. It'll be Abraham Almonte of the San Diego Padres. And, of course, the first thing you notice right from the get-go, the Padres have gone back to those uniforms and the colors of the uniforms as it's ball 1 and we're underway. To Chris Welsh, you used to don back in your days as a Padre.
Very close to that, Tom. I mean, certainly the tops are the same. We used to wear the white pants with golden sanitaries and white shoes, if you remember. But I think a lot of people in San Diego who remember the Padres, they thought that the more modern Padre uniforms that they had were just too much like everybody else, too much like the Brewers, too much like the Royals. So let's go back to the roots, and that means brown.
I think they look great. Their fans are very excited. That ball smoked into left center field and unable to get it as Shogo. Almonte could fly. And he's on his way to third and will go there easily. Sliding, could have gone standing up with a 3-base hit to begin the game.
You know, Akiyama really shows me something with the effort right here in the very beginning of this ball game, spring training. Some guys have it on cruise control. Look how far he goes to get and almost reaches that ball that goes against the fence.
Middle infield will stay at regular depth. They'll pull in a bit on the corners in case something's hit right at Blandino or Davidson. And the batter is Tommy Pham. We saw him, of course, after many years in the minor leagues with St. Louis, worked his way up, became a rock-solid player. And then last year's first full year in Tampa Bay, led the team in plate appearances, at bats, base hits, doubles, stolen bases, on base percentage. He had an outstanding year, and now a San Diego Padre. Today, the first day that Pham has played in a spring training game because he's coming all the way back from elbow surgery and is still unable to throw the ball. So he'll get some swings in offensively. They figure he'll be able to play the outfield and begin to throw full tilt in about 2 more weeks. That one going to get away from a catcher, Casali, and this will bring in the game's first run. Triple and a wild pitch.
Well, he tried to add a little bit extra on that particular breaking pitch. I'm not sure, first off, whether it was a changeup or a slider. Hey, Pop. But you get a runner at third base, you get 2 strikes on the hitter, you think, I'm going to throw the best one I can. That was a changeup, and just buried it in the dirt, and Casali couldn't corral it.
So 1-0 San Diego, 1 ball and 2 strikes, and a fastball is high to Pham. Red starting pitchers have been lights out, and that's what they're hoping will carry into the regular season. Many feel that is the #1 strength of this Cincinnati team going into the 2020 season. They've won 2 in a row, and that was the first run allowed by a starting pitcher in the last 4 games. The trio of Sonny Gray, Trevor Bauer, and yesterday Anthony DeSclafani had not allowed a single run, and Pham out of there on strikes. Number of backup players, some regulars in there today. Shogo, we talked about playing center with Winker healthy again in left. Aquino is in right. Blandino at third. Farmer the shortstop. Derek Dietrich, great story this time a year ago at second base, and Davidson for Votto over at first. Casali hanging the sides. 1 in, 1 out. Garcia looks at strike 1.
You know what could really make things interesting, Tom, is if Aristides Aquino goes off the way he did in the month of August. If he does that here in the month of March, it'll be a very difficult decision here for the Reds to figure out exactly how that outfield will stack up. Because right now he's got options left. They can keep him down in the minor leagues. They can kind of have him for insurance. But man, oh man, the way he swung the bat when he was a player of the month, that's instant offense.
And they're taking a longer look at him in center field.
Yeah.
And also in left field. He almost exclusively played right field after being called up from the minor leagues last year. But now you have Castellanos, who figures to be the regular right fielder. And that one will drop into right field. 1-2 pitch and a single by Greg Garcia.
Greg Garcia, he's not playing second base today. Actually, Garcia's playing shortstop, but he's rarely in a battle for a position here with the Padres this year, battling actually the guy coming to the plate right now, Brian Dozier, for some playing time. Garcia negotiates a nice changeup and flips it into right field. Dozier is a very interesting sign for the Padres. I mean, a lot of people look around and say, how could this guy not have been offered a major league contract given what he has done throughout the course of his career? Now in his 30s, was with the Washington Nationals last year, of course, when they won the World Series. He only had 1 at bat in the World Series, but he's got a pretty good resume going all the way back to his days with the Twins.
Sure does. He has had an excellent major league career. 1 ball and 1 strike.
talk about Dozier and the kind of career he had just between 2014 and 2017. Had more major league plate appearances than any other player. He was good for a WAR that was almost 20 over that period of time. When you get over 30 years old and injuries plague you a little bit, your skills begin to drop. And unfortunately for Dozier, when he hit the free agent market this year, there were a lot of other second basemen also out there, including Mike Moustakas, who the Reds were able to corral.
Two balls and two strikes. Castillo glances over his left shoulder, and that one swung on and fouled back out of play. Castillo was the Reds' opening day starter last year, and David Bell said he'd rather make that decision a little bit earlier this year. He has still not made it as to who it will be. And really looks to be a two-horse race between Castillo and Sonny Gray, both all-stars a year ago. 2-2 pitch. Second strikeout in the inning by Castillo.
And both on changeups. Yeah, I think the missing link for Castillo is to sharpen up his slider a little bit. I mean, I can't imagine his changeup getting any better. Maybe there's a way to do that. But he's got such great deception. He's got such an easy fastball that comes in there in the high 90s. You know, if you can get one little breaking pitch that moves in a different direction, boy, you've really got a three-pitch magic rather than what he's got with two-pitch now. But you know what? When he really needs a strikeout, you know what's coming, the changeup.
Well, he enters this season 449 innings, and he's fanned 489 batters. So he has been mighty impressive, continuing to get better and better and better seemingly every year. Came over in the trade in January of 17 from the Miami Marlins. Off the outside corner to Jason Vossler. Of course, last year he was, you know, almost beyond belief, Chris, in the first half of the season. He started to tail off a bit in the second half. And that one is going to just dribble through the left side. You'll take it all day, every day. That'll be a base hit by Vossler.
Well, a good example of making a good pitch and getting a bad outcome right there. Vossler fooled very badly, but just gets it on the cue stick end of the bat. A little dribbler base hit.
I know many of you remember this name. I was shocked to see that Gordon Beckham is still at him. I mean, when he came up to the big leagues, he was a #1 pick, the 8th overall by the White Sox in 2008, set the world on fire that first year. Had his ups and downs over the next 5 years. Has spent time since with the Angels, again with the White Sox. Bounced around with Atlanta, San Francisco, number of stops in the minor leagues, Seattle a couple of years, and 83 games in the big leagues last year with Detroit. But I guess, Chris, keeping that dream alive.
Well, 33 years old, on a minor league deal, getting a look. He's another one of those players the Padres are looking at for middle infield help.
Made his major league debut all the way back in June of 2009. Was a starting third baseman. And was the first position player and the 4th overall from that 2008 draft the year before to reach the major leagues. He was up in a hurry after a stellar career at the University of Georgia. Swing and a miss. 3 strikeouts recorded in the inning by Castillo. They get a run on 3 hits. Shogo to lead it off when we return. Second-year manager of the Redlegs, and that would be David Bell. And we take a look at the Reds starting lineup today. It'll begin with Shogo Akiyama in center field. Freddie Galvis playing for the first time this spring. Has been bothered with a sore shoulder. He's a DH. Winker in left, Aquino in right, Casale catching, Farmer at short. Dietrich, Davidson, Blandino, the latter third. Came all the way back from missing 2018 to make 14 big league starts a year ago. Big man, Danielson Lamet.
Yeah, a little more than a year on the disabled list with recovering from Tommy John surgery, but one of the hardest throwers the Padres have.
All right, here's Shogo Akiyama, and he looks at ball one. Couple of hits in his first 9 at-bats. After 9 years in the Japan Pacific League under his belt, career .301 hitter, career on-base percentage of almost .380. Has finished each of the past 5 seasons with an OPS north of 800, thanks to lofty on-base percentages ranging anywhere from the 380s to the 420s. So you figure if he plays, Chris, that this might be where he hits regularly in the batting order?
I would think so. I mean, if he can continue to get on base the way he did in his long career in Japan, 12 years plus, where he hit a career 300 batting average, you know, this is what you need at the top. If you back him up with Joey Votto behind him, you've got 2 lefties that get on base an awful lot.
And then a whole lot of thunder packed in behind that.
I think what people see when they have a veteran player coming over from Japan is that can he adjust to the speed of the game in the major leagues. I don't think there's going to be any problem here. For Akiyama, as soon as he gets his foot down, the timing will be there. But I do think that this spring is very important for him, you know, to start learning the pitchers, to not necessarily learning them individually, but to learn how pitchers are trying to go after him so that he'll have a pretty good idea of what is in store for the regular season.
And Ohtani had to go through a lot of that. I mean, all the players who come over from Japan have to go through that. Freddie Galvis figures to be the everyday shortstop. I guess you better not tell Jose Garcia that. You don't want to hear anything about it.
Well, good to see him in the lineup because he's had a little bit of a bad arm that has set him back in spring training so far. Galvis, switch hitter, has some pop. 23 home runs last year.
And defensively, Galvis is good as anybody around. There's no doubt about that. Last year hit by far with the most power. Yeah.
You know, I think that people automatically think because he hits home runs that he's not that good of a defender, but he is a very good defender and an excellent teammate.
And loves to play the game. I mean, him missing time in spring training, it has to be something pretty significant for him to not be out playing, because he is a guy that, if he's considered to be a regular player on your team, and that he has been almost his entire career, he will play every day.
Last pitch by Lamet, 98 miles an hour. He averaged 96 last year. He was basically a 2-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider. They're trying to get him to throw a few more changeups this year.
Good eye by Galvis, and he'll draw the 1-out walk.
Padres have a new manager.
Yeah.
Jace Tingler was named manager back in October. He was actually managing down in, I think, winter ball.
Yes,
at
he
the
was.
time, and he had 10 games under his belt, and he got a call and said, you know what? I'm going to leave my managerial ship right here and head on to greener pastures, which means that he's at the helm here with the Padres. They brought a new pitching coach in, and Larry Rothschild, veteran that has been with the New York Yankees for a long, long time.
And they have the
And he was
first.
also previously, obviously, with the Reds.
That's right. And they have the first, as far as we can tell, the first ever by title anyway, associate manager. And that is read for a short while, one of our favorite guys, Skip Schumacher. Tingler was a guy, though, outside of a stint here and a stint there on the Rangers coaching staff. He has moved more into the front office side of things. Served as an interim bench coach for the remainder of 2018, and then at the end of the year, he interviewed for that open managerial position with the Rangers, did not get it, and became the Major League Player Development Field Coordinator for the Rangers last year. He hails from Missouri, played collegiately at the University of Missouri. Winker. A bullet knocked down by Lamet, should get the out. And will. Good play. On the second goes Galvis.
Well, Winker hit the ball hard yesterday 2 times on the first 2 pitches that he saw in each at bat. Leveling on a fastball. Here he gets an upper 90s fastball and just almost undresses the pitcher. I'm not so sure that you can throw it hard enough to throw it by some of these big league hitters nowadays. I mean, if you leave it out over the middle, look at the swing that Winker had on that pitch, and it was right on it, probably 98 miles an hour.
Aristides Aquino called up by the Reds on August the 1st, and I mean to tell you, one day he played in the big leagues in 2018. That was it, 1 game. But when they brought him up last year, it took the baseball world by storm. Hit his 10th home run in the 16th game of his career, the fastest to reach that mark in Major League history. Had 14 home runs in his first 27 games. It was incredible to watch. On to third goes Galvis. But then, Chris, in September, naturally, pitchers begin to see a little bit more. Start making a few adjustments with all the scouting reports and so forth about a player around the league. He clearly was not the same guy in September. So if you're one of the big decision makers for the Redlegs, you know, are you figuring maybe somewhere in between, or?
Well, I think that's up to Aristides. And, you know, it's just like pitchers made the adjustment to him last year. Now it's time for him to make the adjustment. And it's simple on paper. It's to lay off the slider down and away and don't chase the pitches up and out of the strike zone inside like he did just there. But for a guy that did so much damage, I mean, he's going to have to figure out a way just to kind of shrink the strike zone for him so he doesn't become an easy out and start chasing pitches, especially with 2 strikes.
2 balls and a strike, runner at third. And threw a fastball right by him there, again at 98 miles per hour by Lamet.
Aquino, though, is the kind of guy you just really root for. I mean, always a smile on his face. First guy to help his teammate. Hustles everywhere he goes. Friendly to the media. I mean, he's a lot of good things to say about him.
There's that slider down and away from him. He chased it. Reds leave a runner at third and trail at the end of 1-0. Well, last year was only his 3rd season in the major leagues, and he was just 26 years old. The Reds opening day starter, and Chris, we mentioned he went to the All-Star game, but what a start he got off to.
I mean, he was unhittable, and he was a guy that obviously feels that he can be at the top of his profession, top 5 or 6 in the league, certainly. Interesting, really, that his velocity increased in the second half of the season last year. The results weren't as good, especially coming down the stretch in August and September. But I think that pitch management is going to be a big thing for Castillo this year. And I would not worry one bit about what he does here in spring training.
In the air to short right field. Aquino with a beat on it and retired. The catcher Austin Hedges to begin the San Diego second inning. Padres got a run on 3 hits in the first against Luis. Jorge Oña, the left fielder, coming to the plate. It's always a fun weekend out here this time of year when the Reds ownership group comes into town, and Mr. Castellini has all of them and many members of the Reds staff. Chris, you'll be out there later tonight at his home in Paradise Valley, Arizona.
Casa Vista.
And those owners ponied up to the tune of $162 million during the offseason on these free agents.
And I think what that translates to, Tom, is that they're looking for results. You know, the rebuilding is over. This is no more excuses about we'll come back and get them next year. I think what happened is that the front office took a look at this pitching staff, and we've already talked about the starting staff, and said, you know, I don't think that the Reds pitching staff is going to get any better than it is this year, 2020. So we're going to go for it. Now's the time to do that. They've got a strong bullpen. They've got a lot of young arms that are extremely good. Talking to a couple of scouts today before the game, that was what impresses a lot of other teams as much as anything, is that the depth that they have is good arms coming up out of the system.
That is a second baseman, Derek Dietrich. 2 away. And you know, we were talking about the the additions the Reds made, and Chris making reference to the starting rotation, which is already assembled until they brought in Wade Miley. He rounded out the starting 5, but the rest of them, the 3 big bats, Moustakas, Akiyama, and of course Castellanos, and then Pedro Strop. I love that sign of Strop down the bullpen.
I do too. I mean, at one time he was one of the best relievers in baseball, and that's not all that long ago. Red saw a whole bunch of them, of course, when he was at Wrigley Field and coming in with the Cubs. But I think it's a lot of it is attitude. The one thing I've noticed in this camp this year, you know, there are a lot of cliches being thrown around out of spring training. Everybody's optimistic, but I really feel like everybody, minor league, major league, players, coaches, they all seem to be on the same page. And the Reds have gone heavily into the analytics. They've hired Kyle Bodie, who is the creator of Driveline, to help kind of basically pioneer that for the Reds. And they've gone into the deep end with that. And I think they're going to see some good results in the long run from it. I mean, the whole idea is one thing, you know, you spend a lot of money in the free agent market, and you think that you're going to compete this year. And then the next step is sustainability. Can we do it next year? Can we begin to develop more prospects than we have in the past? And I think that's where the challenge is, and I just love the way they're going about their business.
That walk was just issued to the one-time Reds star minor league player, who of course now has found his way to San Diego. That's Taylor Trammell. Boy, it's hard to believe, Chris. A year ago, you know, he had won the 2 years before the MVP, you may remember, in the Futures game, right around the All-Star game, and everybody thought he was going to be the next great Cincinnati Red outfielder. And then in July last summer, they shipped him off, part of that 3-team deal that brought Trevor Bauer from Cleveland. And now all of a sudden, you know, with San Diego, the bottom line is there are rumors seemingly every day about Will Myers, who is scheduled to be their everyday right fielder this year. Myers is due to make $20 million a year in each of the next 3 years. There have been rumors that Myers might be on his way to Boston. And should that happen, that may allow Taylor Trammell sometime about the middle of the summer to get a chance to play with a big league ball club in right field. We'll see.
I don't think the Reds wanted to give up Taylor Trammell. They gave up also a couple of other good prospects in the trade that brought Yasiel Puig into Cincinnati. But I think that they're at the point that they can make that deal and move on and not worry about, you know, the after effects of what that prospect may do. If you're always afraid of making a deal because you're afraid of the guy that you deal away is going to have a good career, make you look bad 5 years from now, you're not going anywhere. I mean, you've got to get over that and just move on with the guys that you think are part of your program, and that's what the Reds have done. Taylor Trammell, great young man, and everybody wishes him the best. But in his final 3 months with the Reds, he hit .220. So there are some people in the organization thought, well, maybe we're not giving that much away.
1-2 on Almonte, who tripled into left center. And he'll dump one into right center field on a 1-2 pitch. It'll send Trammell racing to third. He slides in there easily. So 2-out noise for the Padres after a couple of quick outs. A walk to the number 9 hitter, and now a single by Almonte.
Little changeup, and not a bad pitch at all there by Luis Castillo, running down and away. Almonte just kind of waits back and flicks it into right field. That's a good bit of hitting. Trammell gave a little stutter step before he got to second base and then judged where Aquino was and put on the speed. He's got plenty of that.
So Tommy Pham, the batter, he struck out swinging his first time up. So some of the other pitchers we are scheduled to see today for the Reds, really the heart and soul of this Cincinnati bullpen. Raisel Iglesias, Amir Garrett, Michael Lorenzen, Robert Stevenson, Cody Reed. And maybe Tyler Mahle. You know, Malle's an interesting situation going on down here with the Reds right now. You heard Derek Johnson make reference to him, that he looks at Mahle as a member of the starting rotation. But that would be 6 guys rather than 5. Ball and 2 strikes on Pham. He struck out swinging his first time up. Strikes out swinging again. 1 hit, 2 left. Middle of the 2nd inning. A 1-0 San Diego lead.
Once they signed Castellanos, I texted Dick and Nick, and just as like a sign of, you know, respect and appreciation that you know, we love the moves that they made. We can tell that they're working their butts off to make our club better, and that they've done what they can do. And now it's our job to, you know, take those signings and turn them into a winning ball club. It's something I've never done before, but I just, in the heat of the moment, I was just really pumped up and watching MLB Network, and I just like, you guys did a great job, and, you know, we'll take it from here.
Those offseason acquisitions certainly put a buzz and some excitement into Reds country, and that went throughout the Reds organization, even the current Reds players, as you heard Casale talk there. It's pretty universal. The guys in the front office said they received many phone conversation and text messages. Hey, you guys did a great job.
Well, and I love what Casale said, because, you know, it's one thing, and Chris, you touched on it earlier, it's one thing for ownership and the baseball operations people to get on the same page, to commit the kind of money that they've committed. Now it's on the players to go out and do what the back of their bubblegum cards tell you they're capable of doing or have done in some cases. The best is yet to come for a number of these players. I don't think there's any 2 ways about that. You obviously are hoping for good health, and right now it's been, you know, a little iffy for the Reds. The situation with Suarez, nobody seems concerned about it over the long haul. They very much believe that Eugenio will be ready for opening day at 3rd. Senzel, not sure when he'll be back playing in games again, as Casale has gone on strikes. Winker appeals to be much, much better. And everybody on that pitching staff, I mean, really, by and large, all the guys you're looking at with legitimate chance to be a part of the staff, whether it be in the rotation or the bullpen right now, are all healthy.
I mean, you compare the pitching staff the Reds have assembled here to other teams out there who are desperately looking around for number 4 and 5 starters. The Reds are going to send some people down to minor leagues that would be the 4 and 5 starters on a whole bunch of other ball clubs.
The majority.
So it's amazing how in the course of about 3 years, this pitching has completely changed around. And if you have a good starting staff, and the Reds do, you're going to limit those long losing streaks. So those are the ones that kill a ball club during the year, when you lose 6, 7 games in a row. You've got stopper after stopper after stopper. I mean, just take the top 3 in this rotation: Castillo, Gray, and Trevor Bauer. I mean, those guys, each of them would be the stopper on many ball clubs around the league. And the Reds have 3 of them.
And when you go one step further than that, you look at Wade Miley, what he's done in his career, and then DeSclafani. I mean, DeSclafani was one of the top 5 pitchers, top 10 pitchers, maybe in all of Major League Baseball last year, from the All-Star game through the rest of the season.
Yeah, he might be really ready to make the next step. I've just been so impressed with what he's been able to do over the last few years, changing his pitching delivery while getting big league hitters out. And boy, the way he threw the ball yesterday, ball coming out of his hand about 95, 96 miles an hour, painting the corners. It was looking good.
I don't know about you, Chris. I just feel like there's a lot of pressure, and there's pressure for everybody in this game. I mean, you got to go out and get the job done. As Dietrich has a count of a ball and a strike, but you know, when you look at that starting rotation, I think there is enormous pressure to find out if the Reds got the Trevor Bauer we've been watching for a long time, or whether or not they have the Trevor Bauer they saw in the second half of last year. Now, most signs would tell you it's the former rather than the latter, because there are times we've seen this guy pitch where he looked like the best pitcher on the planet.
You know, sometimes I look at Trevor Bauer and you know, maybe watch a bullpen or watch him last year when he threw a simulated game in Miami. And I'm thinking to myself, how does this guy ever get hit?
Yeah.
I mean, his stuff is so good. And it's just a matter of consistency. And, you know, the one thing that impresses me about Trevor Bauer is that, you know, and maybe it's overlooked because he's got a big presence on social media. He's a very outspoken guy. He's not afraid to speak his opinion. And he puts himself out there. I think he is a guy that deeply cares about winning, about being part of a team, and helping the team go forward. And it may sound like he's an individual guy, but I really think that he's a good teammate and will help the whole cause. And that's what you're trying to do. I mean, the only thing that matters at the end of the day is not how many wins you have as a pitcher, how many wins your team has at the end of the year.
Good point. Matt Davidson getting started first base today for Joey Votto. A number of the Reds regulars are getting a day off today. Votto so far this spring has played in 3 games. He only has 4 at-bats. He has 9 plate appearances. He's already walked 5 times.
Mid-season form.
Yeah, and a couple of hits in those 4 at-bats for Votto. So the on-base percentage only through 3 games, but off to a nice start. Lamet is a big dude. Brought it up earlier. Hails from the Dominican Republic. They say he's 6'3", 228. He looks a lot bigger than that. Last year in August, after he got healthy, he averaged almost 13 strikeouts per 9 innings, which was the most by a Padres starter in any month in team history. You got to go all the way back to Andy Bennis when he was rushing it up there back in the mid-1990s.
Matt Davidson is kind of an interesting case. He at one time was a slugger for the Chicago White Sox. I mean, between 2017 and 18, I mean, he hit 46 home runs for that ball club. Tailed off badly last year. Did end up as a two-way player with the Rangers and then ended up down in AAA. But, you know, the Reds figure to keep him around and have good backup with Joey Votto.
Plays out of there swinging on that slider down in the row. We play 2. The Padres have a 1-0 lead. Well, we saw Luis Castillo for a couple of innings today. Gives up 1 run, punches out 4. And now taking over on the mound, Chris, you know, this has been the main man as far as young pitchers in the Reds system. Has been up and down. We've seen him sensational on the mound. We've seen him not so good at all, and that would be the young Californian Tyler Mahle.
You know, sometimes when you make the major leagues and you're only 22 years old, even though your stuff says you might be ready, maybe the rest of you is not. Maybe your game is not completely there to get, you know, veteran quality hitters out. And I think Mahle probably learned that. You know, he first broke in when he was 22. He was 24 last year. 3-12 overall, but I mean, here's a guy that in his 52 career starts has struck out nearly a batter per inning. So the stuff is there, and I think just maturing a little bit as a pitcher is the next step.
Well, his #1 fan is the Reds pitching coach Derek Johnson. Even last year when Mahle was struggling mightily before eventually being sent back to the minor leagues, he still feels this young man has a chance to be an outstanding pitcher.
You know, you can go back and look at Mahle's starts last year, and there were so many of those starts that he was 1 pitch away from having a really good outing, and he'd hang a curveball and it would be a 3-run home run. It would change the entire outcome and make his pitching line go from being really good to really bad. And you know, you live and die with the results, but I think that the numbers can be misleading a lot of times, and I think in the case of Mally's season last year, that's the case.
Well, where he got killed was with 2 outs in an inning.
Yeah.
It seemed like those pitches you mentioned, it would be the difference between good and not so good, frequently came with 2 away in an inning. And it wasn't always a 2-out home run. It would be nobody on, 2 men out, and all of a sudden he hits a batter or walks a guy, and now the floodgates would open up. He got injured in the middle of July with a left hamstring strain, was sent down to the minor leagues, and he has walked the first batter he faces. Garcia. Now, compared to his first full year in the major leagues, he made a drastic improvement in that category.
Yeah, he had averaged almost 4.5 walks per 9 innings until last year. Cut that number just about in half.
There's Brian Dozier, and he looks at a fastball up and away. So a wild start here for Malley through 1 batter and 1 pitch to the second.
You know, I think the other thing worth looking at when you evaluate a pitcher like Tyler Mahle is that, you know, the earned run average and the wins-loss were not very good. He was 3-12. That earned run average was 5.1. But when you start looking at the other types of ways to measure pitchers, FIP, for instance, it was down around 4.8. So it gives you a little bit better indication that he pitched in some bad luck. A lot of that all kind of goes together.
95-mile-per-hour fastball, threw that one right by Dozier to get ahead at 1-2.
(95-85) last 2 pitches for Mahle. Fastball mid-90s, that breaking pitch at 85, and that's the one that you're, you know, when you're 24 years old, you're still refining that. You always will be refining that no matter how long you pitch. But, you know, I think he's still trying to find the right combination of release point, grip, where his body is when he releases it, you know, to find the exact arm slot that works for him.
Swing and a miss by Dozier. Second time he struck out in the game. Castillo had 4 of them through his 2 innings of work.
His off-speed pitch is that split finger, and I think that's what that is right there. Boy, comes out of his hand. Badly fools Dozier. Hard to tell with our monitors here whether that had spin on it or was a splitter. Got the arm speed to throw a good one.
He's Chris Welsh. I'm Tom Brenneman, and yes, Jim Day is part of our broadcast team here today in Goodyear, Arizona. 1 out, 1 on, 1-0 San Diego in front. We're in the 3rd. I think today's really the first day, and I noticed that the crew here had Jim Day in mind. Chris, if you look beyond the Reds dugout where he hangs out down there, they brought an umbrella for him today because it is really bright and sunny.
On a day like today, you would call that a parasol.
Forgive me. I mean, Jim is completely engulfed thanks to that parasol down there in the 3rd base dugout at the very end of it.
He could probably market a whole line of those.
Well, especially if it would come with a little recording on it from Eugenio Suarez. Quick throw down by the catcher Casali, as it's 2 balls and 2 strikes on Jason Vossler.
Well, why would you want to embellish stories for our viewers?
I'm not embellishing anything. I'm sitting up here and I see the cameraman standing there with his camera, and then I see behind him, which means it's not for him, behind him.
No, that is for him.
An umbrella.
No, that's his seat between half innings.
Well, I know, but he's standing up most of the time. That ball is in the air to deep left center field, and Vossler a 2-run big fly. And San Diego extends a lead 3-0.
Vossler hit 20 of those last year playing in the PCL El Paso for the minor league franchise of the Padres. Opposite field right here. Boy, the ball flies here about like it does in El Paso. Alley got it up. Vossler was able to get a pretty good part of the bat on it.
Well, he's had a big-time year everywhere he's played. He's been an all-star wherever he's been, in the Carolina League, Southern League, first year last year in AAA. You mentioned had great numbers, but that's very much a hitter's league.
Now, Vossler can play third base and first base. Of course, you got Eric Hosmer playing first base regularly for the Padres, so that is not a good situation to be in. But, hey, you know, you always need some backup. And
yeah, they got a guy named Machado who plays third.
Yeah.
Not a lot of innings there.
Hang with him.
Right, or he's short for that matter either.
I was kind of hoping that the Padres would bring Tatis.
Yeah, he is
one of my favorite players to watch play.
No doubt. Swing and a miss, strike 3 to Gordon Beckham, 2 away in the inning. Two down for Austin Hedges. He figures to split time behind the plate with Mejia again this year. Did a solid job for San Diego last season. The San Diego team will not be a pushover inside the National League West this year if their starting pitchers, young, very talented. A number of them on the rise have come back from injuries, because they feel like their bullpen, if it's not the best, it's certainly among the very best in not only the National League, but in all of Major League Baseball. Now Machado down there at third. Tatis healthy again at short. Mentioned Hosmer. I think once Tommy Pham gets healthy, he's a solid player. Tough guy. We like him, watching him playing for the Cardinals.
I think they feel that their rotation is really getting better and better. Chris Paddock at the top of that. Dil Nelson, Lamet, maybe the 2 or 3 starter. Garrett Richards, Zach Davies, Joey Lucchesi, Cal Quantrill, all among the potential starting pitchers. Jurickson Profar they brought in to compete for one of the infield jobs, probably second base. Kirby Yates, boy, he's as good a closer as you're going to find out there.
Breaking ball missed again. Mahle has allowed 2 walks, 2 runs so far in the 3rd inning. Onya tapped out to Dietrich at second base, his first time up.
They're hoping that this young man can stay healthy. Signed a international free agent contract back in 2016. He was a free agent who came from Cuba, and they gave him $7 million signing bonus. He began last year. I mean, he was on fire when he started his minor league season last year. Ended up having a shoulder injury that ended his season in May. So they're looking, I think, this year as a transition year for Onya. Mahle clearly working on that breaking ball here today.
Swing and a miss, and that will retire the side on that breaking ball. 2-run home run by Vossler. 3-0 Padres. Stream spring training games live or on demand with MLB.tv. Watch high-definition video on any size screen at home or on the road or in your office. Visit MLB.tv for details. Matt Strom takes over on the mound now for San Diego. A left-hander behind Lamet, 2 scoreless innings.
He was a starter at the beginning of the year last year, 2019 season. They ended up transitioning him out to the bullpen in the second half. But in 2018, they had really seen a lot of good stuff from him. He pitched 61 innings, gave up fewer than 40 hits, and struck out 69. And it just didn't happen for him here in 2019. He's now competing for a bullpen job.
If I'm not mistaken, we saw him start a game or 2 against the Reds the last couple of years.
He actually pitched a game last year. I think we only threw 2 innings, so they used him as kind of an opener.
Alex Blandino to start things, batting in the 9-hole. Then Shogo Akiyama and Freddie Galvis due up in the Reds' third, trailing by 3. Blandino drilled. Not sure if it got him in the left foot, the left leg. But he will pop up and drop to first base. Maybe just above the left ankle. Hard to tell.
Probably even hard for him to know. It's probably whole leg hurting right now.
Right. All the way up through his hip and his neck.
Get those puppies out of the way.
So here's Shogo against a left-hander. One of his 2 hits so far in spring training have come against a southpaw. This guy was playing every day. We showed you that graphic earlier. He played in better than 820 consecutive games going back to the 2014 season. So, I mean, righties, lefties, he's in there all the time. Or at least in Japan.
Bradley's seen breaking ball first pitch, fastball last pitch, so he's now 0-2. Looks like Strom wants a breaking ball. You know, if you want to play every day as a left-handed hitter, that's the pitch you have to lay off.
He wants to play every day. There's no 2 ways about that. We've addressed this Reds outfield situation, and he lays off of it again.
Oh, that's a good eye. A lot of left-handed hitters sitting at home watching this game. Their hips were twitching on that one.
Well, behind 0-2, now goes to 2-2. And a tapper over the mound. It will get the force out at second, and that's all they'll get. That's a nice play made by the shortstop, Garcia.
The designated hitter, number 3, Freddie Galvis.
Yeah, they're lucky they got one right here. Garcia looked like he threw the ball behind him, and it had to be barehanded by Dozier. Now we get to see Freddie Galvis right-handed.
He walked his first time up. First time he's been to the plate in the spring training game this year, and looks at a strike. Galvis, the designated hitter today. So going first with one away. San Diego 3 runs and 5 hits. Got 1 run off Castillo in the first inning. A 2-run home run against Mahle in the third. And that bouncer just ate up Gordon Beckham down at third base.
Well, this looks like the fielder Beckham down there at third is thinking about a double play before he makes the first part of it, which is gloving that ground ball. Comes off the turf, a little bit of overspin on it. And I think he just didn't concentrate on the first part, which was gloving the baseball.
It's ruled a base hit for Galvis. And now the batter, Jesse Winker. Hit the ball very hard, back up through the middle against the right-hander Lamet, his first time up.
You know, this at bat against a lefty, this is important for Winker. Well, nobody wants to be a platoon hitter. Everybody wants to play every day. Of course, if you're a left-handed platoon player, you're going to get a lot more opportunity to play than a right-hander. And the combination of Phillip Ervin and Jesse Winker, they put up some pretty good numbers together last year.
Did.
And Winker wants it every day, and so does Ervin. I think for Winker, it's the same thing I said about Akiyama. I mean, you really have to concentrate to lay off that left-hander's breaking pitch. Get something you can handle.
Got a pitch to hit right there. And dumped it foul out of play off to the third base side. You know, it's just so interesting when you talk to people that are people in the know. But, you know, it'll come down to David Bell and his staff and how they see this whole outfield thing and how it all shakes out at the end of the day and who's healthy, who's not healthy, who has options, who doesn't have options, all those kinds of things. But, you know, if you ask guys, as there's the pitch you're talking about, Chris, being able to lay off of, that one called a ball anyway. But it's just so interesting, the differences of opinions of, you know, people thinking, well, you know, I believe, for example, you know, one guy told me yesterday, I think Winker's going to be your left fielder. I think he's going to be out there and he's going to play it every day. And then your other people are like, well, not so sure. Think Aquino might be in center and think Akiyama might be the left-handed bat in left field. There's just a lot of moving parts going on here.
Yeah, you know, I kind of like that. I like the diversity of opinion.
Yeah.
Because you don't want everybody just to be yes men, and you throw something out there if you're Dick Williams and Nick Kroll, and everybody says, okay, we'll agree with you. I mean, you want to hear from everybody at that table. And the tough thing for a general manager and a president of baseball is to figure out who you're going to listen to.
3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out, 2 on for Winker. And a breaking ball just throws him for strike 3.
Boy, more often than not, those lefty-lefty situations, that left-handed pitcher is going with his bread and butter.
Now Aquino struck out swinging his first time up. That was against a power right-hander Lamet. Now he gets a left-hander Strom with 2 aboard, and the Reds down 3.
I'll tell you, Aquino to me, you know, as a former left-handed pitcher, I look him in the batter's spot. He's a menacing figure. I mean, he looks ready like he wants to do some damage. Got a wide open stance. You figure yourself it's going to be hard to get it in there on him. And Strom tried in the first pitch and missed.
Two 2-0. Look out here for Aquino. And he came out of his shoes taking a hack there, but taking a little something off that time was Strom. 2 balls and a strike.
Little veteran pitch right here, heading to count. The hitter's looking fastball, and the pitcher throws again his bread and butter. I mean, his best pitch out there, Strom, is a breaking pitch.
2 on, 2 out. 2 balls and a strike. Breaking ball is in there for strike 2. Not going to give in with a heat to Aquino, at least not so far.
You got to know your limitations.
Dirty Harry once said that. A man's got to know his limitations. 2-2. Straight up in the air. Right in front of the plate. Who wants it? The third baseman, Beckham, to end the inning. A hit, a couple of men left, and a 3-0 San Diego.
Kyle Farmer is the backup shortstop on paper for the Reds, and that opens some eyes in which they think that he's just a catcher. But we're talking about a guy that came up as a shortstop, as the all-time fielding percentage leader at the University of Georgia. And as he will tell you, hey, I'm just a shortstop that happens to be a catcher. It is a very unique situation that a guy's two main positions are shortstop and catcher. It's rarely seen, but you ask guys throughout the organization, they'll tell you he's legit. Sunday made some outstanding plays at shortstop, looks natural out there, and if Freddie Galvis is out for any extended period of time, they feel very comfortable that Kyle Farmer could play there every day.
You know, Tom, I think that if you go up and down a major league roster and take all the right-handed throwing everyday players, eliminate the pitchers, and you can actually put a lot of pitchers in this, and ask them at one time or another growing up, did you play shortstop? And I would probably say 80% of them probably played shortstop at least, because you're always putting, in amateur baseball, as you know, you're always putting your best player shortstop on the mound, sometimes behind the plate, you know, when he's not pitching. And, you know, it doesn't surprise me one bit. Billy Hamilton started out as a shortstop.
That's right. So did Eric Davis.
Reggie Sanders was a shortstop. I mean, you can go on and on and on.
Tyler Mahle facing Taylor Trammell to begin this San Diego fourth inning. Trammell walked his only time up, and a bouncer right back to Mahle for out number one. San Diego leading 3-0. Jim, is Eugenio Suarez still hanging around down there or no?
He is somewhere around here.
I just can't get enough of that Jim Day. I just cannot get enough of it. I can listen to that every day, kind of like Angry Grandma.
You're killing me with that. The thing is he doesn't do it just for the cameras. It's literally every time he sees me, whether it be around the facility, in the clubhouse.
Well, where is he?
He is, you know, when a guy is injured and they're used to playing, they're just stir crazy. They're walking up and down, visiting this guy. They'll paint every portion of the dugout.
Okay.
So I'm not sure where he is at the moment.
Well, if he comes back, let us know.
All right.
It's always good of him to just drop in every now and again. Well, now he's closer, almost to the complete opposite end. He's wearing somebody out down there near the bat rack. 1-1 to Almonte. 2 balls and a strike. We're in the fourth inning. 3 runs, 5 hits for San Diego. No runs and 2 hits for the Redlegs. Reds left 2 on in the third inning. They've left 4 in the game. San Diego stranding 5 so far. Padres will come to Cincinnati May the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th. That'll be at Great American Ballpark. And then the Reds will go to San Diego, allegedly what they call the June gloom, 16th, 17th, and 18th. That's a month in San Diego where you get a lot of that cloud cover in the morning, and sun generally doesn't come out till about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Almonte out of there on strikes. Mahle his third, now 4 strikeout.
Little split finger fastball right there. You know, the location wasn't great, but there's such a separation between the fastball speed and that pitch. Almonte way out in front. And that will be all for the outing today for Tyler Mahle.
8 of the 11 outs recorded by Cincinnati pitchers have been strikeouts. 4 Ks for Mahle, 4 for Castillo. TJ Antone. Jim Day was talking about his beard. The bearded one coming off. T.J. Antone, we saw him here, Chris, 3 days ago. Takes over on the mound with 2 outs and nobody on, and comes in to face a right-handed batting Tommy Pham. You believe this is a kind of move that maybe, you know, David Bell can make and wants to see if he can make it. Should we get, you know, theoretically into the 6th or 7th inning of a game, and maybe Antone's with a big league club?
Well, you know, the new rule that comes in, the 3-batter minimum rule, this is the one way that a manager can have his pitcher come into a ball game and not have to face 3 batters. 2 outs, nobody on. If he retires the batter that he faces here, his stint could be over. He does not have to come back out in the 5th inning to pitch to 2 more batters. And that rule, by the way, Tom, will go into effect in Major League Spring Training as of March the 12th.
And how about Antone? Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. So there you go, Chris Welsh. Perhaps a question answered for the Reds manager. Don't miss Kids Opening Day. It's been quite a hit, presented by Frisch's Big Boy, a free pregame block party, including games, music, mascots, and of course, the Reds come out, the players themselves, and they walk the red carpet. Kids 14 and younger attending the game receive a Kids Opening Day cap. Visit Reds.com/tickets. That has become an enormously popular day. So that will be, what, the 2nd game of the year, if I'm not mistaken, because we play the regular opening day on a Thursday, the 26th. You always build in an off day because of weather. And then Saturday is a day game against the Cardinals, which will be Kids Opening Day. That's a big-time series to begin the year.
Yeah, it's been a while since I think the Reds have opened the season with the St. Louis Cardinals. They're one of the favorites in the National League Central Division. They didn't do a ton over the winter as far as addition to their ball club, but they've got some nice pieces.
Well, I see where they've already named Flaherty as their opening day starter. Talented young right-hander. We saw him a number of times last year. I was reading a story about him the other day, and you know, he's a native Southern Californian, and he grew up an enormous. Apparently he's one of these guys, and my son was filling me in on this because I guess he follows a guy on Twitter or something. Apparently Flaherty's like, he's just one of those kids who's just immersed 24/7 in sports. He just loves all sports. And apparently his idol as a kid was Kobe Bryant. And after the tragic ending to his life and the others in that helicopter crash a little over a month ago, apparently that had quite an effect on Flaherty. He, like many others, thousands, millions all over the world, quite honestly, but I guess growing up in that part of the country and being such a huge Laker fan, his whole life, the man was Kobe Bryant.
Very sad, tragic accident.
Oh, no doubt. For many others as well, as besides Kobe and his daughter. It was just an awful, awful story to hear about and read about. Three and two to Casali, fouled back out of play. And you know, there's been no definitive determination as to what the playing time is going to look like behind the plate. There were stretches last year where both Casali and Tucker Barnhart were hurt, and they had to use Kyle Farmer, you may remember. Then he got hurt, and the next thing you know, the Reds are going, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 deep in their system on the depth chart to get catchers that could play. But Barnhart and Casali to figure to be the two to begin the year. And if you're in a pinch, you can use Farmer there too.
You know, the difference, I think, between last year and this year, the Reds have a couple of backups. Brian Pena's come in to be a backup. And Tyler Stevenson, his time may have arrived here in 2020. At some point, if there's an injury either to Casali or Tucker Barnhart, I mean, the strides that Stevenson has made the last couple of years have been remarkable. He's had some very good games already offensively. He looks good behind the plate.
He's played in 4 games. He has 7 at-bats, 3 hits, a home run, 2 doubles, and 4 knocked in.
You know, I said Brian Pena because, of course, we loved Brian Pena.
Yeah, we did. We loved him.
Pena. He's a great kid, too. And he's the kind of guy that can go unnoticed in spring training and be the first catcher out of the chute if there's an injury.
Hot smash down to third, back into second. They'll easily turn this over, and that'll be a double play off the bat of Farmer. 2 down, none on. Still 3-0 San Diego. We're in the last of the 4th inning. And the inning continues for Derek Dietrich.
Hard hit, fielded nicely by Beckham. He had one double play ball bounce right by him, was not about to let that one by.
Really nice crowd on hand here today. This is by far the nicest weather day in terms of temperature that we've had. Yesterday was a little warmer than it's been of late, but a lot of cloud cover. Today, just absolutely perfect.
Well, you're an expert on Arizona weather, having lived down here a long, long time, being the first play-by-play man of the Arizona Diamondbacks. I mean, have we turned the corner down here now? Are they finally going to have good weather from here on out?
I'll never say never when it comes to this time of the year here. And look, if you'd asked me, do I think it would have been like this today, I'd have told you no. As Dietrich again gets hit by a pitch, he's led the planet in that category the last 4 years in the major leagues. And that's going to be the last pitch thrown by Strom. He's coming out.
You know, Dietrich just doesn't give in on the inside pitch. And that's one reason why he gets hit all the time. A lot of guys are spinning out of the way of that pitch, but not Derek Dietrich.
Well, hopefully he's all right. Alfredo Rodriguez going to come on and run for Derek Dietrich. They wanted to take a look at that right hand of his that we just hit by a pitch by Strom a moment ago. And speaking of Strom, he's out of the game. They're going to bring in Jimmy Yacobonis. Yacobonis, a right-hander, to face the right-handed batting Matt Davidson.
That may sound familiar to you. Yacobonis spent the last few years with the Baltimore Orioles. Kind of split time between the bullpen and the starting rotation.
Well, that was a long season again last year in Baltimore, and it doesn't appear like things are getting a whole lot better there. I guess you never know. And, they say you got to go out and play the games, but that's a baseball franchise that has just had so many great teams through the years, and here of late, Chris, man, oh man.
Well, that's also, Tom, a division where a mediocre team can end up with a terrible record because you're playing against normally, the best of the best. With the Yankees and the Red Sox and the way the Tampa Bay Rays have had a run at it.
Runner takes off, and Rodriguez is out of there trying to steal second base.
Hedges, what an arm and a throw right there.
As closer Raisel Iglesias into the game now. It was an up-and-down 2019 for Raisel, particularly in non-save situations. He showed up to camp this year on a mission, said he's ready to accept any role.
Fue una cosa totalmente diferente. Estaba un poquito desajustado. Era una cosa que no estaba acostumbrado a lanzar en innings más temprano. Y entonces, porque mayormente trato siempre de tener mi rutina de trabajo a finales de juego, y entonces fue una cosa bastante sorprendente para mí lanzar temprano en los juegos.
Yeah, it was a bit different last year to come in at a different inning. I have my own routine every time that I go out there, especially when I'm going into the 9th inning. But, it's something that I had to adjust, and I think this year definitely do so.
The biggest difference this year, at this time a year ago, he came to camp and he used spring training to get ready for the season. He had not thrown and he was not sharp throughout the spring, and it bled over into the regular season. This year he started throwing in November and he came to camp sharp and ready, and it's been a noticeable difference.
The thing you like to hear in addition to that, Jim, is the fact that as the season went on, he actually got better. In the month of September, he had 7 saves and an ERA at 1.6. That was his lowest month of any month all of last year. They're going to wait to get the force out, and they're lucky that the new second baseman did not get hurt. or the new shortstop, I beg your pardon. I believe that Alfredo Rodriguez stayed in the game for Dietrich, but they put him. Well, now they're trying to. Oh, they're putting another shift on the other side. I guess Rodriguez is playing second base. Yep. And if we hear anything, by the way, on Dietrich, we will let you know. He had to leave the game a moment ago after getting hit by a pitch. You know, Iglesias still managed a career-high 34 saves last year. And, you know, all the talk, Chris, and I'm sure we'll hear some more about it this year, although I don't think necessarily it will pertain to Iglesias like it did last year. But all the talk about using your best pitcher in the biggest situation of a game, which would come in the 7th inning or the 8th inning, or staying into a game when it's a tie game. You know, those were the situations where he struggled. When he was asked to come in the traditional role, if you will, of a 9th inning closer, he was primarily dominant almost all the time.
I think the other thing to consider when you have Raisel, you watch the kid play catch, and the way the ball comes out of his hand, just the eye test, it's amazing. Just such a talent. His fastball velocity stayed up last year. He still struck out, but almost 90 batters. That's a lot for a closer. I think even getting into it deeper than that, I mean, he's a guy that has always had, you know, he came in as a starter originally with the Reds, right? So he has about 5 or 6 different pitches.
He was an opening day start.
So little by little, you have to whittle away some of those pitches that just don't have as good of results. And what happened last year is that the opposition really knocked around his two-seam fastball. His sinker wasn't effective at all. So I suspect that you're going to see him go more with four-seamers this year, stay with that very tough breaking pitch. He's got a great changeup against righties or lefties. I just think don't give up on him too early.
No.
Only 29 years old.
Yeah, not a chance. Four-seamer there. Yep. Yeah. A little bit high. 3 balls and 2 strikes. We are in the top of the 5th inning. 3 runs, 6 hits San Diego. No runs, 2 hits for the Redlegs. Runner at first, 1 out against Raisel. And Voslo hit a long home run his last time up. Pitch taken, ball 4. And then the throw goes into center field with the runner taking off, and he'll easily go to third base. So Casale cutting it loose. He didn't know it was ball 4. On a 3-2 pitch, he's going to try and make the throw down to second base and nowhere near the covering shortstop.
That just slipped right out of his hand is all. You know, catcher has to come up throwing on that because you're not sure on a marginal pitch whether it's going to be called a strike or a ball. So you're assuming that the ball is in play and the action is still underway. And that one slipped out of Iglesias' hand. Maybe they ought to spread around a little pine tar out there.
Well, who was the guy last year you caught him? Archer. Guy was bathed in the stuff out there.
Man, that's my own heart right there. Hey, you know, come on. The way some of these, first of all, the Major League Baseball.
I'm with you, dude. You don't have to convince me, but I know what you're saying.
The seams have gotten so small, and they're so hard to get a grip on sometimes. They've got like this slick talcum powder on them sometimes if they're not rubbed up properly. I mean, I really don't think it gives that great of an advantage to a pitcher to be able to have a good feel of a baseball.
I just don't understand why if a batter can use pine tar to get a better grip on the bat, why can't a pitcher use pine tar to get a better grip on the ball? Now you can say, well, it alters the flight of a ball. I don't know if it does or doesn't. Do you think it does?
It gives you a better grip and it will increase your spin rate.
Spin rate, right? But I mean, do you think it you know, like, you know, the old spitball and stuff with cutting the ball and all that kind of thing, though, not the same effect, right?
I think a lot of guys are using it. No, not like a spitball, no. Jim Maloney will tell you a few really good stories about pine tar and spitballs and extra things. I mean, not only as it pertained to Jim Maloney. I bring him up because he's one of the guest instructors down here in camp right now. You know, walking around visiting with a lot of players and so on. But because it was rampant throughout the league and it didn't hurt the game. I just think that, you know, make it nice and crisp. Either rub the baseballs up so they're consistent and the pitchers can get a good grip on them, or let pitchers get a little bit of a grip of their own. Either way, get a grip.
2-2 breaking ball in the dirt. Good eye there by Gordon Beckham, and the count is full. Let's see if they'll start that runner Bossler over at first, not known as a speed guy, so you could theoretically be running into a strike him out, throw him out, double play.
That advice would apply to you too, partner.
Well, there's no, believe me, I'm all in on that. Get a grip. Pulled foul wide of third.
Ooh, down near Jim Day.
Well, he's got that umbrella to use as a shield down there.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that chair keeps getting further and further away from the cameraman and gets closer and closer and closer to Jim Day.
I want you to keep a shot on this umbrella. I haven't been under it one time.
Well, that's because now you're in a position where you don't need to be anymore. Tapper to third. They're going to come to the plate, and they have the runner caught. Casali will run him back. Tag made, quick throw to third, and it rolls into left field, and the run is going to come in to score. They were trying to get that double play, and that's a 4-0 San Diego lead. Bossler coming all the way around from first base to score on the fielder's choice and in a throwing error.
Well, Garcia was just trying to stay in the rundown long enough to get Bossler over to third base. Going back and forth. The tag here by Blandino is on him, and then just trying to flip it, and that should have been caught really by Farmer. It looks like he just took his eye off of it.
All right, so 4-0 runner at second base, and here's Austin Hedges. That run charged obviously to Raisel Iglesias. Fastball up and away. So 1 run against Castillo, 2 against Malley. Antone retired, the only batter that he faced, picking up the strikeout, and now Iglesias touched up for a run. Stung into left field. This will bring in another run as they wave the runner in from second base, Bossler, and a 2-out single delivered by Hodges. Or Beckham, I beg your pardon. Beckham came in to score, not Bossler. He scored a moment ago.
Hit hard right there. Hedges made a great throw to end the last inning for the Reds and puts a line drive out. They'd be one of the harder hit balls we've seen today.
Ball in the dirt, gets away from Casali. That'll be a wild pitch against Iglesias. What was the guy's name last year when we played the Padres? All we heard about was exit velocity. He ended up getting traded.
Franmil.
Reyes. That's right. He's now with the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah.
Franmil. That's all we heard about when we went out to San Diego last year was, man, you got to check out the exit velocity on Franmil.
Well, you know,
what's he hitting? 204, but man, that exit velocity is really good.
Yeah, but you know.
But he's hitting 204. Yeah, but that exit velocity is really good.
It's just another one of those indicators that tells you the guy's got potential. I don't know. I mean, now the next step for him, obviously, barrel it up a little bit more, but maybe a lot more. Hey, he may have a good year this year.
He might. He's got some talent now. I don't mean to.
That's Tom Brenneman getting on you, by the way.
You know what? I'm a fan of the guy. I like him. He ended up putting together some good numbers. Speaking of good numbers, how about Jorge Oña? Oh, he owns you with that one. 2-run big fly way out of here. Man, oh man, that was a guy you were talking about, the kind of start he got off to last season.
You know, they're looking for big things out of him. He probably will start in the minor leagues to get the season going. But A.J. Preller of the Padres has compared him to Albert Bell as far as body type. I mean, he is some kind of strong and gets a whole bunch of this one. That's a bad spot. I mean, for pitchers, you just have to. There's certain spots that these hitters are so strong, they're so fast. I mean, you can improve everything just by staying out of the hot zone. Especially with a guy like Jorge Oña.
That was Franmil Reyes-like.
Yeah.
I mean, that's way out of here. Taylor Trammell, a bouncer. That is a foul ball.
Hey, by the way, Franmil last year between the Padres and the Indians, hit 37 bombs and drove in 81.
I know, it's what I'm saying. He ended up having a really good year. But when we saw him, he was not off to a good start.
No, he was not.
He had hit a few home runs, but he was not swinging the bat well. He got better as the year went on.
Came into camp this year with the Indians about 20 pounds lighter. So.
He's a big, strong man. And the Indians need some pop in that offense. They did not bring Yasiel Puig back. And, you know, really the lack of offense out of that Cleveland outfield the last number of seasons has cost them a chance to perhaps win a World Series. The pitching a lot of years has been good enough to win one.
Yeah, indeed.
And now all of a sudden they've started to clean house a lot of their bigger name players. And the rumor that was swirling around, I mean, even as recently as a week ago, but pretty much all winter long, was the Indians are open-minded to dealing their perennial all-star shortstop among one of the best players in all the game, in Francisco Lindor. Looped into left field, and Iglesias just can't get that final out since that throwing error brought in a run with 2 outs in the inning. And they're not going to give him a chance to get the final out. David Bell's going to come get him. He allows 4 hits, including a home run. So far, 4 runs against Raisel Iglesias. He walked a batter and did not strike out a batter. So a pitching change. And we're back with more from Goodyear in a moment. Well, our next Reds TV broadcast will be tomorrow at 3 o'clock. We'll pick up the Brewers feed. Wade Miley will be on the mound, making his 2020 spring training debut for the Cincinnati Reds. A March to opening day presented by John Deere, and only on Fox Sports Ohio and streaming on Fox Sports Go. Our friends from FS Milwaukee with a call of that one. Here's an interesting young man. 25-year-old of New Jersey, an 8th round pick by the Reds in 2018. He had come back during college, his days at Pitt, from Tommy John surgery. Boy, the numbers he put up last year at Dayton, mighty impressive. 65 innings, allowed 42 hits, did Matt Pidich. He punched out a whopping 75 while allowing the 42 hits.
Yeah, anytime your whip is under 1, you're having a sensational year, and that's where it was for him. It was .95. Whip is walks plus hits divided by innings pitched, so it's a really great indicator of how much you're pitching in and out of trouble. Ooh, good changeup there. 25 years old. The Reds picked him up in the 8th round just a couple of years ago in the draft, 2018, from University of Pittsburgh.
Matt Pidich, Perhaps a name to keep an eye on here this year. Finished up last year, pitched the entire year. We mentioned his 39 games at Dayton. So reason to believe he goes to Double-A. Maybe high A, but you figure Double-A, and then who knows? Maybe higher than that. Already at 25. Padres with a 7-0 lead on the heels of a 4-run 5th inning and still batting. Almonte, the 8th man to bat in it. Runner on the go on a 3-2 pitch, and that's Trammell. He'll easily go first to third on a single by Almonte. So a 9th Padre will bat in this 5th inning, and that'll be a pinch hitter, Owen Miller. This game rolling right along here in the top of the 5th inning. Miller batting for Tommy Pham, the DH. Tapper foul wide of third.
Well, you know, Tom, you see more and more young players that have been brought into minor league camp, early work camps, and so on, than ever before appearing in big league spring training games. Good example right here with Owen Miller. Just 23 years old. Like Padres, he was drafted in 2018, has never played really above A ball. So a lot of teams, what they're doing is that they're bringing their better prospects in, especially their pitchers and catchers in a couple of weeks early so that they can play in these spring training games. Teams get on the road and you don't see as many superstars and regular players coming on that road trip as you used to. Even here in Arizona, where road trips are relatively short.
Well, especially the Padres. You mentioned a couple of days ago, they share a facility with a team the Reds played in our Thursday telecast, the Mariners, and it's only about a 15-minute ride straight up the highway.
Yeah, they're probably the second closest ballpark up there in Peoria.
Next to the Dodgers, being a little closer. In between, and White Sox, both teams. And we're going to see the Dodgers here on Fox Sports Ohio. I believe that is our telecast, if I'm not mistaken, Monday.
It is. I'm excited about that.
David Price against Sonny Gray. A couple of guys who went to Vanderbilt University. That'll be a Vanderbilt reunion. The Sally, all those guys, Derek Johnson. In celebration of the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Negro Leagues, the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum is proud to showcase the shades of greatness. An exhibit presented by Dinsmore. Critically acclaimed exhibition features 35 original works of art produced by 28 diverse professional artists from around the country. Visit redsmuseum.org. Beautiful day to sit in the sunshine here in AZ. Matt Davidson to lead things off. Reds getting thumped here today. Bottom of the 5th, 7-0. Owen Miller will remain into play at the DH position, and the new third baseman for Gordon Beckham is Seth Mejias Breen. Yacadonis still on the mound for San Diego. He came in to get the final out on a stolen base attempt by Alfredo Rodriguez in the 4th inning. Reds are batting in the 5th. Davidson to be followed by Alex Blandino, and then maybe one more time we'll see Shogo Akiyama, and Davidson is hit with a pitch. Man, been a number of those in this game today.
Right in on the hands here. It sounded like it hit his bat. That's how dangerous it could be, getting hit right around the bottom of the hand.
He's already been hit a couple of times this spring in limited playing time.
Number 0, Alex Blandino.
Blandino was hit by a pitch 3 times. A Red has been hit by a pitch in this game. Davidson, Blandino, and earlier in the game, Derek Dietrich. Christian Colon will come over and run for Davidson. They want to make sure, I'm sure, that he's all right. Appears to be just fine. Trudeau, Blandino taking a strike. Blandino trying to, put himself in a position to earn a spot on this major league opening day roster. Extremely versatile player. Came all the way back from that devastating ACL injury. We remember that a couple of years ago. Jim Day was all over that story the entire year last year in the spring, and then what Blandino was doing, making his way back to the major leagues. We pretty much gave you an update on a daily basis on Alex Blandino. Two and two. Jim Day, I know you're down there in the dugout. At least I think you're still down there. Blandino this spring, have you had a chance to visit with him and sort of what's his state of mind?
Well, I visit with all the guys, and he's like one of those, another guy that's going to be fighting for a spot. 26-man roster helps some guys in his position. But, you had a guy like Moustakas. You've had Van Meter that has come up through the system. You've had Kyle Farmer that can play all over the place, so the spots are limited. He's going to have a great spring.
It's a very good point, Jim Day. All over per usual as Blandino looks at strike 3. I know so many people contacted me, Jim, about that great piece you did the other day. You were just mentioning the name Kyle Farmer, and you were out teeing it up with a couple of those guys as there's a base hit into center field by Shogo. His first hit today in 3 at-bats. Dumping that one into center field on the first pitch in the at-bat.
When Akiyama came to the plate, you may have heard in the background the PA announcer here at Goodyear Ballpark introduce him into the game and the at-bat as Shogo Akiyama. That is the Japanese way to say his last name. And there was a lot of, not controversy, but a lot of discussion when he first came to camp as to how we were going to pronounce his name. Jim Day has gone up to him, talked to him. I went up to him and talked to him. How do you want your name pronounced? And he would rather have it pronounced by us as Akiyama, which is kind of the anglicized or English version of his name rather than Akiyama. So if you hear somebody saying it one way or the other, they're both correct.
Right.
And but he'd rather us say Akiyama.
Okay. 2-on after Shogo, that base hit into center field. Well, we're starting to talk about, Jim, that piece you did the other day that was on our weekly show from out here in Arizona. Who were you out teeing them up with? You were with, was it Barnhart, Casale, and Farmer? Was that the trio?
Yeah, all the catchers.
It was the catchers together bonding.
And you.
And me.
Yeah, and you. I mean, it was a foursome out there. It wasn't just the three guys and you kind of hanging around. There it is.
Anchor down. That was
Well, was that like a Georgia cheer or something like that?
That's the University of Georgia cheer, because he and Casale go back and forth between the Vanderbilt, Georgia thing. It is just nonstop. So he was talking about the cheer that the half inebriated fans will say at Georgia did. Okay. His words, not mine.
Okay.
All right, Jim, give us a little rundown here. We know what they can do on the baseball field. Which of those guys is the best golfer?
Oh, Casale, he can play. His wife is a golf collegiately, and he can hit it a long way, and he can hit it straight as well. He's got the complete package. Tucker can play a little bit, although he struggled that day, but he can hit it a mile.
Tucker looked good. I mean, he was dressed. He looked like a PGA pro out there the way he was dressed.
Yeah. Farmer's sort of like me. We just hack it all over the place out there to have some laughs.
You know, I won't tell you this, but I shouldn't tell you this, but Farmer told me after that he thinks he could take you no problem.
Well, I'd hope so. He's a professional athlete.
Well, who was it that was making the claim the other day? They didn't want any part. They wanted all Chris Welsh's money, and I'm like, you better be very, very careful. Very, very careful on that one. Look at DeWink. Flips it to a bad boy, and the crowd hoping the bad boy. They have a screen down there, the really high screen, so Jesse wasn't going to throw it all the way over the top of the screen. So he came back to make that play on the foul ball behind the plate. I think DeWink and Jim Day's buddy Rufus sitting down there in the second row looking for that baseball to be flipped up in the stands. The group going way back. 3 balls and 2 strikes, a count on Freddie Galvis. Extended at bat here by Freddie Galvis. It's pitch number 11 in this at bat here in the bottom of the 5th inning. And Galvis waiting, and he draws a walk. That's quite a plate appearance here by Freddie Galvis. Spring training or not. So now the Reds have him loaded up.
Galvis has been on base every time.
Yeah, this is his first game back. If you weren't with us earlier, he's been bothered with a sore shoulder all spring. Hope he'll be back in the field after the upcoming off day for the Red Leg. So they are loaded for Jesse Winker.
A good hitting opportunity here for Jesse. Struck out looking against a left-hander his last time up. Took a breaking pitch on a 3-2 count, and now he's got bases loaded. And Yacobonis has got to find a strike zone here.
Bases loaded for Winker, who has bounced to the mound and struck out 0 for 2. That's just a Rear back and let it fly. 1-0 fastball right down the can. In the air to short right center field. Monte over to make the catch. The Reds are going to get their first run of the afternoon. Tagging and scoring is Christian Colon on a sac fly RBI by Winker to make it a 7-1 San Diego lead. And advancing on to third is Akiyama. Here comes Aquino. Aquino hitless in 2 trips to the plate today. A strikeout in the first inning swinging. And then popped up to the third baseman for the final out in the 3rd inning. You could hear that all the way up here. I'm hoping that was a part of his shin guard there for the catcher Hedges, and not some other part of his body, because that made a lot of noise. I don't know, maybe the inside of that left thigh. Man. I think they're giving him an extra minute or 2 to kind of get it back together here.
Yeah, it's the subtle things that umpires and catchers will do for each other when they get hit. You know, call a quick timeout to go get some new baseballs from the ball boy, go out, talk to the pitcher.
Cue shot knocked down by the first baseman. Enough time to recover to get the final out. Reds get a run in the 5th inning, their first of the game, and trail at the end of 5, 7-1. We're at Goodyear Ballpark, Goodyear, Arizona. 7-1 San Diego as we're set to begin the 6th inning. And we mentioned earlier, kind enough to join us here today, the Reds president of baseball operations. I saw your mom and dad for a long time. Boy, it was great to catch up with them yesterday, Dick Williams. And it's so good to see your dad, Joe, doing so well again. That was a nasty mountain bike accident he had a few years ago. We were worried about the old boy.
He should learn not to follow me down a trail.
Well, especially when you're 40 and he's 80. I mean, that's a bad combination. No, but he looks great. It was so great to see him.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got the wife and kids out here, too.
Good for you.
Great.
Good for you.
Enjoyable.
And obviously, it has been it's just been an incredible offseason. Are you even, kind of stunned by everything that's happened with this franchise? The final day of last season, you end the year, and everybody had hoped things would be a little bit better, and you're anticipating what might or might not happen. I mean, did you have a feeling it could be this good?
I didn't know how it would feel to get it done. Phil said it well the other day. Castellini, we were talking. He said if we had sat down on the first day of the offseason knowing that you had resources, you couldn't have scripted it quite like this, could you? And I said no. The way it came together to find 5 different veterans that filled different holes for us, and for all of them to come in and be the kind of guys that they are, it's really been exciting. And I can't wait to take this team back to Cincinnati.
Dick, I think some of the unappreciated thing about dealing as you did so many different ways this winter, free agency, trying to make some trade deals and so on, are you made offers to free agents that you did not sign, and they went on to sign somewhere else. Sometimes you have to be a little bit lucky in the way things fall through so that it opens up another door.
If you learn anything in this game, it's, don't write too many plans in pen. Bob Castellini's phone rang a lot this offseason. We had a lot of different opportunities come up. We came close on a lot of different things. And the great thing was he took all the calls and was very supportive and pushed us to be aggressive. and you know, we really liked the way it came together. But you never know. We were very close on a lot of different things.
Tell us a little bit about Shogo Akiyama. I mean, it's the first time the Reds in their 150-plus year history have signed a player from Japan. He comes right to the Major League. He's a veteran from over there, 32 years old. Where did you start hearing about him, and how did all that come together?
It really started several years ago with a guy by the name of Rob Fiddler that lives in Seattle. We hired from the Cardinals to do our Pacific Rim scouting. And Rob has built a team over there in the Pacific Rim and gotten us a lot more information on players. They're coming out more frequently now, and they're more affordable because of the way the posting system's been set up. So we knew we needed to have more information on those guys. And he's seen Shogo play over 100 games. So we had a lot of firsthand looks at him. We sent over great cross-checkers like Chris Buckley and Terry Reynolds. So we had a lot of reports on Shogo. And obviously a guy like that doesn't fly under the radar. He's made all-star teams over there. He's been Defensive Players of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. So we had a pretty good idea about him, and he fit 3 of the 5 needs we set out. He checked 3 boxes for us. That veteran leadership, edge, experience was one. Outfield defense was one, and ability to get on base at a high rate. So those 3 boxes he checked for us. So we were aggressive in our pursuit. We had the first meeting with him in San Diego during the winter meetings. We walked him through a book, talked to him about our city, our team, our fans, and where we were headed, and we really just hit it off. I think we got him in that first meeting.
Did you beat out some other teams?
Yeah, you never know for sure exactly what's going on. I know he had meetings all that day, late into the night, met with a bunch of teams there in San Diego, and I know other teams were bidding on him. I don't know who dropped out and when, but I felt like we had a real good connection with him, and we stayed on it from the time of the meeting.
You know, maybe other franchises and fan bases of other franchises, Dick, you know, they signed a player from Japan, and they've heard from their director of baseball operations or general manager about, you know, what you need to do and who you need to call to bring in a player from Japan. Looked like that throw hit the batter in the helmet, and then ricochets into right field. They'll get the out at second base. See where this hit him. It looked like the throw from Rodriguez hit the runner. Oh, man. I mean, that's right next to it, point blank.
A little quick on that pop-up slide.
But then going back to just out of curiosity's sake, when you're interested in a player that's playing in Japan and is under a contract by a Japanese team, what is the very first phone call that somebody representing the Cincinnati Reds, who does it go to?
Well, Rob Fiddler knew when Shogo was going to earn his free agency, and he was starting to hear rumors over there in Japan about his interest in the United States.
Okay.
So once he surfaced that, last offseason, he sent us a lot of information on Shogo in case he declared for free agency that year. So we had started building a book.
So it's very, very different than if a player is leaving before he becomes a free agent. Now you're getting into the whole thing with a team over there, and so all right. But
so, we didn't have to go down that road of working with the Japanese.
Of the group you signed, what was the most? Was there one that surprised you more than the rest of them that you got the deal done?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, I guess the most unexpected was to get a deal done with a guy like Moustakas that early in the offseason. And then I think you saw an industry trend this year where we came off an offseason last year where everybody waited till the last minute. All the big boys signed once spring training started. And we had this really slow offseason. Everybody was talking about collusion and, you know, what's going on here. And this year it was the opposite. I think guys were anxious to get signed. The teams that were adding were very clear about their priorities. But to get a deal done with Scott Boras that quickly in the offseason, I think we all felt really relieved to target a guy like that and be able to bring it to a close, because typically Scott will be very patient trying to get the best deals for a client. I think in that case, part of what was happening was Moose really wanted to come here. And then when we told him, once we got him, we said, you know, you're the start of what we're trying to do this offseason. And then he came to us when we got here in spring training. He's like, well, I didn't know you meant you were going to go that far. I mean, you guys just kept going. So he's thrilled to be here. Had a new baby yesterday.
Good for him. Good guy.
Yeah, we've missed seeing him the last few days in camp, but we are thrilled for him.
You know, people talk about the intangibles about Mike Moustakas, and what are those intangibles that are so valuable in your eyes?
You really have a hard time defining it until you see it, but he brings a presence, and that presence was missing. Last year there were times when sort of everybody was looking to Joey or Gino to put the team on their shoulders, and it's not fair to do to one guy. You really want to have a lineup full of guys that you can look to, and I think that's more where we're headed. Mike is just a guy that he makes people feel comfortable. He's always smiling, but he is there to work. He is not messing around. We really feel it from all those guys that we brought in, Nick and Mike and Shogo. They're just so friendly and personable, but it is all about winning. And that is an edge that we craved. And we think the team that's coming back from last year, there's a lot of talent there, a lot of individual successes. Bring a little of this free agent magic in and really see if we can't get them.
Can we get you to stick around for one more half inning?
I'd be happy.
Please. Thank you very much. Back with more. Dick Williams in a moment.
That's what's on everybody's mind. You know, we're not here to work. We're not here to work as in a sense of develop in any way, shape, or form, you know. We're here to win, you know. Everybody here is on that same page of we expect to win this year, and anything short of that would be a failure.
Words from Nick Castellanos, one of the new additions made by Dick Williams and the Cincinnati Reds during the offseason. And boy, what numbers he put up last year after moving from the Tigers to the Chicago Cubs. I mean, he was the Cubs' best offensive player after he was acquired from the Tigers last year through the remainder of the season. Fly ball to right by Tyler Stevenson. Talk about him for a minute. We were talking about him earlier. I mean, it looks like a guy he might be on his way now.
Talking about Tyler?
Tyler, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Having a great spring. Really kicked off for him last year, full healthy year. Started to perform, followed it up with a real nice performance in the fall league. That gives you that extra confidence. You're playing against some of the best players from the other organization. Got a nice rest over the offseason and came here ready to play. You know, getting added to the 40-man, being close. He's talked about it a lot. He knows he's one phone call away. We need him to be ready. We need that catching depth. And I think over the next couple of years, we're going to start to see a lot more of him in Cincinnati.
Let's talk a little bit about the pitching, Dick. Wade Miley you brought in. First time the Reds have had a left-hander that you expect to take 30-plus starts from in a while. What do you expect from him?
Hopefully 30-plus starts, you know. The good thing is we've got a coach with a nice history on him. So DJ knows Wade well and knows how to push the right buttons to succeed. We think those two are going to be a nice partnership. We feel deep in rotation options with Tyler and hopefully Jose De Leon and some of the other guys. So we'll take it with Wade. You know, if anything happened last year, it was got worn down a little bit at the end. He had a rough September after a really, really nice first 5 months. So we'll look for chances. You know, he's one of those guys you might give a little extra day here and there for. You got a guy like Trevor Bauer chomping at the bit to pitch more frequently, so maybe that's where it comes in. But you also will have some nice starters down in Louisville that could help us out. But Wade's going to be a guy we're going to count on to add into the mix this year, like having a guy from the left side. And, you know, just another veteran with postseason experience.
You know, Dick, I'm not sure if there's another team out there that has been so public and so visible about their commitment to the latest analytics. I mean, you know, they've rewired the bullpen mounds entirely. You see all the special machines, the Edgertronics and the Rapsodo machines on all the minor league mounds. I mean, it's a whole different world than it was just a few years ago. What got behind you to do that?
We've got a great organization and a supportive ownership group to make that investment. I'll tell you, a lot of teams are buying cameras now and buying technology. That's not enough to get it done. You have to hire really good people to run that equipment, to understand the data that's coming from that equipment, and that can translate it to the players. And I really feel good about the organization. And I mean, people that Nick Krall has recruited, Sam Grossman has recruited, that Derek Johnson has referred to us. David Bell is brought in. And we have made a lot of additions the last couple of years to run that technology and to educate the players and, frankly, our staff on how to use it. And that's been a really gratifying thing to see come together.
Let's educate the fans and the viewers for a minute. Well, what is this data, and what does it do for you, and why do you want it?
So I've got a partial diploma in new technology issued by Caleb Cotham. I've spent time at his elbow trying to keep up with what we're doing, and I won't pretend to be the expert, but for the pitching, for example, now we've got these Edgertronic cameras that sit behind the pitcher when they're throwing, and they're 1,000 frame per second high def cameras that allow us to see in real time while a pitcher's on the mound in a game situation, see all the movement, finger positions, and the movement that he's imparting on the ball when it leaves his hand. In addition, you've got the Rapsodo unit, which sits on the ground halfway between the pitcher and the catcher, and that's taking pictures of the ball and the spin on all of the characteristics of the ball's movement when it leaves the pitcher's hand and goes to the plate. So it's capturing data. You match that data up with the high-speed video, and you have tools that in real time can allow you to fix things that probably, in your day took a month or two. Absolutely. Working with that coach, because, getting the fingers on the side of the ball, and when you can see with that kind of detail what's actually happening, I think one of the real eye-openers for pitchers is when they see where their fingers actually are versus what they perceive. So those coaches are able to use that data and those videos to cue the players to get the results that we want. And it's you hear a lot about spin rate. What I would say is more important is spin efficiency. So a ball can be spinning really, really fast, but if it's not spinning on the right axis, that spin isn't going to do anything for you.
Bouncer down to third. That'll be a double play to end the inning. Dick, great stuff, man. Thanks for your time. And we're counting down the days. It's time to play these games for real.
Really enjoyed it.
Let's get rolling.
Start seeing some of those lineups where you get Moose and Casty and Votto and all those guys in there. Same day.
Why don't you talk to the commissioner about that for us? Thanks, Dick.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate it. Left-hander Amir Garrett taking over on the mound for the Reds as we're set to begin the 7th inning with the San Diego Padres in front 7-1. And we'll just bring you along as the batters come up to the plate about all the changes that have been made in this game. But first things first, Chris, Amir Garrett, big year for him coming up.
Well, a big year last year for Amir Garrett. And, one thing he proved, Tom, is that he's got one of the best sliders in all of baseball. I mean, he's a shutdown left-handed pitcher that, whether you're right-handed or left-handed, it doesn't matter. Working this spring, I think, on kind of evening out his pitch repertoire a little bit, figuring out which fastball and where he can throw it the most effectively. But he's an intimidating guy. I mean, almost 6 feet 7 inches tall. He throws mid-90s. He's got that disappearing slider. He comes out there with a little bit of an edge. He doesn't give up ever or give in. And, hey, guy that tried to take the entire Pittsburgh Pirates on last year. So I'm not messing with him.
No. Luis Torrens will bat for the first time for the Padres as they, too, have made changes as we've rolled along through this one. You really only see most of the regulars not even a weekend of spring training for more than 2 or maybe 3 trips to the plate. Akiyama got 3 trips today. So too did Galvis and Winker and Aquino. And that's it. Everybody else substitutions the rest of the way. On the ground to the shortstop. And Alfredo Rodriguez throws him out. What did Amir Garrett think about all those offseason acquisitions?
Man, when they were starting to add the people to the roster, I was ready to go right then and there. I was like, man, let's do this. Let's do it. I was itching to get back to the field. I'm excited to be back here with the guys. I'm just excited to be out here every day in the morning, at the ballpark. It's something I love to do.
Amir Garrett, one of the more popular players on this Reds team. Swing and a miss to Jorge Oña, who hit a long home run out of this stadium out near the scoreboard in left center field his last time up. That was against Raisel Iglesias. Reds have Stevenson behind the plate. They have Colon at first. Traha is at second base. Rodriguez moves over to short with Jonathan India now at third. And in the outfield, you have Schebler, Travis Jankowski, former San Diego Padre, and in right field, it's Stuart Fairchild. All those guys will get a trip to the plate starting in the bottom of the 7th inning. Two quick outs on ground balls to the shortstop for Amir Garrett.
Oh, what a well-placed fastball right there. You want to take the power away from a big, strong guy like Onya. I mean, after all, he just hit a ball about 500 feet his last time up. You come right in on the knuckles. Watch where this pitch is. Actually got on the end of the bat. I thought he got it inside. Looked like he was way out in front of it as we see it in slow-mo. Either way, you missed the barrel, right?
And now Tapper to the right side. Colon goes a long way in the athletic. Amir Garrett stepped on the foot, it looked like, of Taylor Trammell as he was trying to beat him to the bag, and immediately Garrett checking on Trammell to make sure he's okay. That was a fine play by Garrett. Well, the Reds Community Fund split the pop. So popular is back with the biggest jackpot ever, a minimum of $100,000. That means one lucky fan wins at least 50 grand. Buy tickets now at reds5050.com, and the rolling jackpot continues until the end of the game on opening day. Remember, you must be 18 or older and in Ohio to be a part of it all. Blake Bacher coming on to pitch. See his numbers in the minor leagues last year, used primarily as a starter. Struck out better than a batter per inning, working over 130 minor league innings. Traha will bat for the first time. Blake looks at ball one, low and away. Reds batting here in the last of the 7th inning. And they have trailed right from the very first inning when the Padres scored a run against starter Luis Castillo. It's the only one that he allowed. Tyler Mahle gave up 2. And Raisel Iglesias touched up for 4 runs in just 2/3 of an inning, including the long home run by Onya.
All right, now Lake Bacher last year pitched Double-A for the San Diego Padres in Amarillo, Texas. Do you have any idea what their name is? The Amarillos. Well, what is their nickname?
I'm saying the Amarillos. The Amarillos.
Well, they're even better than that.
What's that?
They were the Amarillo Sod Poodles.
Sod Poodles? Sod Poodle.
S-O-D.
Like, right, and then a poodle like the dog.
Yeah.
What is a sod poodle?
Well, I guess it's pretty self-explanatory, wouldn't it? A little doggy that runs around on grass.
Well, I mean, you would think so. But I don't know. Maybe there's something that's native to that part of Texas.
Well, we could look that up. I mean, they're also nicknamed the Soddies.
Okay.
S-O-D-D-I-E-S.
All right. There's a blast off the bat of the former Padre Jankowski, and that will go to the wall. He's on his way to second. Oh, he's hurt. Oh, boy. And hamstring about 3 steps away from the second base bag. And he will have to leave this game, no doubt, right away.
Too bad.
Really too bad.
I mean, he's got the kind of wheels Jankowski does that would easily have cruised into third base right there. It looks like he pulled up as he was slowing down is when he hurt him. Hit it a long way. Was going to stay in the ballpark. Big part of the ballpark there.
Now, it's interesting you were talking about sod poodle. Okay, I'm looking it up.
What'd you find out?
It's an archaic nickname for a prairie dog. Okay, but what they did was they, being the franchise down there, the Elmore Sports Group owns that franchise, and they threw it out to the fans to come up with a nickname for that franchise. And then they announced it as the Sod Poodles. Winner of the contest over teams like Jerky, boot scooters. You've used that term before.
Oh, yeah. I like the boot
Long
scooters.
haulers. And bronc busters. I kind of like bronc busters.
Yeah.
All right. A prairie dog, sod poodle, which, is a dog in the grass, right?
Ultimately.
Out on the range. Boy, wouldn't you like to be there? Kind of out on the range
Out
with
on
the
the range,
doggies.
You don't have to clean up after your sod poodle.
That's right. Yeah. Somebody did it at a restaurant I was in the other day either. Let you bring your dog with you everywhere now, And somebody forgot to bring their bag. It was really pleasant. Right around late breakfast time.
Nice.
Yeah, very good. Chris Oakey, a swing and a miss. Oh, what a shame for Jankowski. He playing his former team and gets a chance to step up there and drills a double into right center field and now leaves the game. Swing and a miss, and that makes it 2 balls and 2 strikes on Oakey. Pretty wicked pitch right there. Breaking ball in the outside corner, and Oakey is gone looking for the second out here in the 7th inning.
Little slider on the black. You hate to call him a name from the past because this time a year ago, I mean, he was a guy that was going to be in the Reds starting lineup and has been when healthy for the last couple of years, and that's a left-handed slugging Scott Schebler. And now, Chris, after an injury last year, his name isn't frequently mentioned, if even on making the roster this year. Well, I think that every player, at least most players, go through something like this, where you got little ups and downs and so on. You get sidetracked a little bit from the straight rise that you think that you're going to have from the minor leagues, the big leagues. And I think it's a wake-up call for a lot of guys. All of a sudden, the ball club gets really good all around you, and you're injured a little bit. Your game gets set back, and now you've got to play a little catch-up. I think that's where Scott Schebler is. I think specifically for Scott, though, what you see right there is exactly what he needs to improve on, which is the swing and misses. It's always seemed that Scott has got tremendous power, great work ethic, runs well, has a good feel for the game, but, if he could just cut down on the number of times he misses hittable pitches. Schebler's had some nice moments in the big leagues with his Cincinnati Reds team. I mean, you never hear his name mentioned anymore in the whole crowded outfield situation. Schebler's only 29 years old, just turned 29.
guy hit 30 home runs for the Reds in 2017. His batting average jumped 22 points the following year. Got hurt, played in 107 games, but still hit 17 home runs. And then last year, a total of 30 games with a major league club. Was on the opening day roster, was sent down within a month. And he's out of there to retire the side. We're off to the 8th inning. Still 7-1 San Diego.
For the game today, the Reds coaches brought the outfielders over here to the stadium, which is very rare, to get some work because over at the facility, it's chain link fences, so you can't really simulate game conditions or what they'll deal with during the season. They can here at the stadium, and tremendous amount of outfield drills from this particular coaching staff. Over the last several years, I've been very impressed of how they have simulated game conditions, and they have all kinds of competitions, inter-competitions amongst those outfielders. So they were getting their work early here at the yard today.
Well, Jim, I think some of the fans back there recognized Nick Senzel partaking in those drills here at Goodyear Ballpark before the game starts. How's he coming along?
Well, they're nursing him along slowly. They kind of backed him off on hitting for a while because they wanted to just concentrate on his arm. He had shoulder surgery on his throwing arm. The good thing about spring training is they can ease him like they did with Galvis today. They can ease him into games in the designated hitter role. He's 100% as far as that goes. It's still just the throwing that they're trying to get him up to speed on. Whether he makes opening day, not sure.
Yeah, you know, if you ask Nick Senzel, he will probably tell you, I'll be ready for opening day. If you ask the Reds, they're like, well, we're going to be a little more conservative about that. But that's the kind of attitude you love, though. I mean, you want a guy who really wants to be out there. And I think his ball club will be eventually a lot better when Senzel is in the lineup.
Well, I tell you, Jim did a number of interviews with a lot of the players. You two have, Chris, and the most recent one that I saw Jim do with Senzel. You can really sense that he doesn't like starting to get hung with the reputation of a guy who's hurt all the time. It really, not that it wouldn't bother everybody, but you can just see it in his eyes when he was answering the question the other day. He's like, look, the last 2 winters I've had to spend out here in Arizona. He said, I'm not complaining. It's my job. I got to be ready to play. He says, but this is not where I'd be spending the wintertime. And I've had to be here to rehab 2 years in a row now. And he's only had 1 year since being drafted professionally out of the University of Tennessee, Chris, where he has not had a season where he wasn't hurt or something that was off.
Some guys are snake bit, and maybe he can be able to move past that and just have a string of good luck rather than bad luck.
Be nice.
But when you break your finger on a bad hop, what are you supposed to do about that?
And to go along with that, gentlemen, it's really limited the at-bats and really game experience that he got in the not only the major leagues, but in the minor leagues. And even when he was hitting 285 last year as a rookie, he said he never felt comfortable.
Right.
And was never seeing the ball really well. So, and at the time he was hitting 285, had decent numbers for a rookie. So the ceiling's pretty high for that guy if he can get comfortable and get the experience, get the reps.
Well, Jimmy also went through, as Robert Stevenson fans, the first batter since coming into the game. He went through that whole thing, and you were all over that story last year. I remember it so vividly. Especially when we were in Miami about, Nick Senzel finally saying, hey, look, these changes that everybody around me is trying to make in my swing, I'm not doing it anymore. He tried it for like a month and hit like 100. Where is he with all that kind of thing?
He is back to what he did his whole baseball career. The stance, the approach at the plate.
Okay.
He tried it, didn't feel comfortable going forward. And as I said, when they tried to change him, he was hitting around 285. As a player. He's not a big analytics guy. He will listen to it, but he's more of a see ball, hit ball guy.
And really what he has done his whole life, and I did a couple of tech talks with him so he could explain it to me. He's one of those no stride hitters. Some guys like to lift their leg up really high and kind of stride. Akiyama does that. Castellanos does that very dramatically. But Senzel's not. And, not everybody can hit the same way. So hopefully he'll get healthy and get on his ball club.
Also bothered him that he didn't hit 300. It was the first time in his career on any level he was not around 300. And that bothers him as well.
Bottom fell out of that pitch for Stevenson. We figure to see plenty of Robert Stevenson here in 2020.
Boy, has he come a long way.
Yeah,
Remember, he
sure
was a
has.
former #1 draft pick that the Reds got. 27th pick overall in 2011. They got him out of Martinez, California, in a high school. And all we heard for such a long time, you know, Robert Stevenson, this and that, he can throw 100 miles an hour. Well, you know, now that he's in the major leagues, his calling card is really that slider of his rather than that fastball. He's appeared now in, what, 55? Let's see. I have to check that out. But what he has done, though, is the way he came back from 2018, because his experience in 2018 at the big league level was terrible.
Oh, boy.
And a lot of people thought that, you know, that's it. I mean, he's barely clinging on to a big league career, but he's still only 25 years old. But you go back to what he did last year, 57 games for the Reds. Struck out 81 batters in 64 innings. I mean, just had a tremendous year. And young man that you really want to pull for. Very nice, polite, look you in the eye young man.
Strikeout, then a walk. And the inning continues now for Gabriel Arias. And a rocket into left field, a base hit. We're in the San Diego 8th inning with the Padres in front 7-1. Knocking on the door to add to that lead with 2-1 and 1 out. Esteban Quiroz will bat for the first time. Looking forward to that game on Monday we were talking about. We'll have for you here on Fox Sports Ohio. Game tomorrow will be on Fox Sports Ohio. Will be the Milwaukee Brewers announcers calling that one for you. And we certainly send all our thoughts and prayers and best wishes to Bill Schroeder, longtime major league player and catcher, and one of our favorite guys in all of baseball, who underwent major heart surgery, unexpectedly so, during this offseason, as that one is fouled away by Quiroz. And our main man, Bill Schroeder, is quite blessed to be alive. That was an extraordinary surgery he had during the offseason.
Well, he's doing real well, Tom. Have communicated with him a couple of times this winter, and back on track and doing really well. So the guy we know as Rock.
Yeah, well, and rock solid is right. Wisconsin through and through. There's that slider swung on and missed for strike 3. And then we brought up earlier that Chris and I will be back with you on Monday for the matchup of Sonny Gray against the newest Dodger, David Price. Been a weird journey for David Price. For a guy as talented as he is, he's been on a weird journey for a while. Kind of had some ups and downs, and boy, he's been a mighty good pitcher for a long time.
Keeps trucking.
Yep. Fastball strike on the outside corner, 1-1. Looked like he went around. He did on the appeal. Shot into left field. That'll fall in a base hit. They're going to wave around the runner. Here comes the throw to the plate, and the runner is out at the plate. Beautiful throw out in left field, delivered by Scott Schebler. Give you a look at that one going to break. Schebler cutting down the runner at home to keep it a 7-1 game. Reds will bat when we come back in a last to the 8th inning. Well, that's why you practice, Chris Welsh. Early in the day, we showed you some of the routine the Reds outfielders were going through before the game ever started today. And Schebler there on the left practicing, as were all the Reds outfielders, that throw from left field. And now here's a one with the red lights on it.
I'll tell you what, perfectly executed by Schebler. Here you don't have to throw the ball on the low line and one hop the catcher, because really all you're trying to do here with 2 out is get that runner at the plate on a fly, and a perfect throw and a good tag at the other end by Tyler Stevenson.
0-2 on Stuart Fairchild, batting for the first time in a game. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning, and the Reds are losing to San Diego 7-1. Seth Flankoff is a pitcher now for the Padres. Big, tall right-hander working in the bottom of the 8th inning. Breaking ball is too low. And inside.
Flankoff has had a little bit of major league time. Pitched for the Cubs for a little bit. Then he also spent some time in Korea pitching for the Doosan Bears. Became a free agent there and signed a minor league deal here with the Padres. Didn't I read where Yasiel Puig also signed a deal to go to Korea? Did you see that as well?
I did not see that. There have been so many rumors about different teams in Major League Baseball that were interested in Puig, and you know, the Giants especially heard a lot about them and didn't work out.
I could be wrong on that. That could have been speculation, you know. Believing everything you read on Twitter can be dangerous.
Oh, anything would be the word. That would be the replacement word. Anything you read.
Yeah, they ought to have a stat. Maybe facts above replacement.
Believe me, it would be one of the lowest percentages in the history of mankind on anything. That'd be worse than a second-grade basketball team's free throw percentage. If you made him shoot it from 15.
Now he is not signed with anybody, at least as of a couple of days ago.
I'm really surprised by that.
He'll land somewhere.
Yeah, I know he will, but I'm just really surprised by that. Aren't you a little bit?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I read an article about Yasiel Puig, I think written by Joe Sheehan the other day, and he made a really strong case that Puig, he looks like at first glance that he's a wildly inconsistent player. But if you look at him year by year by year, he's pretty steady in what he gives you. And, you know, he's got a little bit of baggage, if you want to call that, but he's an excitable player. He may have lost a step or two defensively and on the bases, but you kind of know what you're going to get with that guy. And I would imagine that by the end of spring training, somebody's going to sign him.
In the hole, it's short. What a play from the hole, it's short. And then the first baseman can't make the play. Boy, that was a beautiful play deep in the hole there at short that should have been an out.
And that is a converted third baseman, Seth Mejias-Breen, former minor league star for the Reds, who's now shipped over to first base. And this would have been a dandy play deep into the hole and just unable to come up with a short hop.
Tell you one thing, though, to finish there about Puig. You know, he was a model citizen with the Red Legs. I don't think there's any debate about that. He was when he went on to Cleveland. Despite what you had heard, you know, from this or that or anything that had gone on in the past, he was great to have around his team.
Yeah, but the question is, if you have to pay Yasiel Puig or a player like Puig, you know, let's say a couple of $1 million, how much more do you get from him than you would a good prospect coming up in your organization?
True.
Who you could pay major league minimum. And I think that's the question so many general managers now are turning to their analytics department to get for the answers. It's no longer kind of seat of the pants asking a couple of scouts, what do you think? It's combining a lot more data all together to figure out exactly what that price point is and exactly what that player can deliver for you and how much it's worth. You know, Scooter Gennett is another guy that it's sad, really, but I mean, I'm kind of surprised that he has not been invited to any camp anywhere.
Down to third, they're going to try and turn the double play, and they will on Jonathan India with a runner scoring. And that makes it a 7-2 ball game.
Number 69,
You're right about Scooter Gennett. You know, there was a time there where, you know, he was really upset. Remember when he showed up in spring training last year before he got hurt, that final game out here in Arizona, the final game of spring training before the season started, which landed him on the disabled list for the better part of a couple of months. You know, Scooter, the first day he showed up for camp, was really upset about no long-term contract. The Reds deciding not to do that. As playing long ball the other way is Alfredo Rodriguez. That ball just continued to carry. And that makes it a 7-3 ball game.
Well, we've talked a lot about Jose Garcia, young Cuban shortstop who has been very good in the talk of camp. You know, the other shortstop that was signed about the same time is Alfredo Rodriguez. And this ball gets up in the air. He's got good power, obviously, and that ball just rides right on out of here opposite field.
Well, you know, Chris, just getting back to that conversation about Scooter real quick. You know, that's one of those where, you know, you were talking about, you know, if you had to find out fact from fiction and who would have been right, who was right, all that kind of thing. You know, there were a lot of people around screaming for the Reds to sign Scooter Gennett to a long-term deal.
Yeah.
And look, nobody's rooting that he's got hurt because we love Scooter Gennett. But the Reds are pretty fortunate they didn't make that pick.
Hard guy not to love.
No doubt about it.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Beautiful Sonoran Desert on this picture-perfect Saturday afternoon. Paul, what a difference between here right now and Reds country. And believe me, we're not rubbing it in because I'm going to be right back with you in about 48 hours back on the home front. There's a ground ball to the shortstop, Mejias Breen. One pitch, one out for Cody Reed. A little bit different start from him today than we saw him the other day, Chris, where he really struggled.
Well, you know, a big guy like that, we say it over and over again. I don't know what it is about left-handers, but sometimes, you know, the bigger they come, the longer it takes to figure out their delivery, stay in control, and that's something that, hey, it plagued Randy Johnson for a long time.
Yeah, he got it together, though.
Yeah, he sure did.
In a hurry.
And I think that's what they like about Cody Reed, the potential that you see in him, of easy delivery that brings you mid-90s fastball, nice slider, good changeup. It's just going to be a battle where you have to continue the repetitions until it all becomes much easier to flow.
You know, the thing is, though, Chris, you brought up earlier, the thing about Cody Reed, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's out of options.
I think
and
you're correct.
So, you know, this is a situation where if he doesn't make the Reds opening day roster, and you can rest assured, if that were to happen, Cody Reed would be swooped up by another organization in a matter of minutes.
I think the way that works, and maybe we ought to find out the answer, though, from Dick Williams or Nick Kroll or one of the guys like that, Sam Grossman. I think you can send him down, but you can't bring him back up without exposing him to other teams.
Yeah, but you're exactly right.
So you can get him down to minor leagues, and, you know, from moving him from there would be the difference. But let's hope that doesn't become the case for Cody. Start off with the first pitch out, and then is walk the second batter.
7-3 ball game. Reed walking a batter with one out here in the ninth inning, and comes back to the fastball to start the next hitter off, Michael Geddes. Strike one. Just UC and Xavier with big games tomorrow in college basketball. Both those schools trying to once again reach the NCAA tournament. That's been virtually the case for the past 25 plus years. The same year for both programs. There's a base hit into right field. Runner going to try to advance first to third. Throw cut off, and out is a call at third. Cut off by Rodriguez, and then fed into you right at the bag, and the call is out.
Good relay, good defense, team defense by the Reds right here. Get it, turn, fire it. And that's a nice play. Bang, bang at third base. You may want to call for the headsets there in the regular season.
Breaking ball away to Taylor Trammell. Taylor Trammell up there with Tyler Stevenson behind the plate. More on that. Here's Jim Day.
Interesting dynamic here. The two are best of friends, played together on every level of baseball. And as I said, spent a lot of time in the offseason. And after the first at-bat that Trammell had, Tyler Stevenson came over and said, anyone get pictures of that? I need a picture of that, because that is the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in baseball. Him being on the opposite team.
3-0 breaking ball, and Trammell thought it was ball 4. Instead called a strike. And I mean a rocket by the left-handed batter against the left-handed pitcher, right back through the middle.
Kid's got a nice swing. Well, he worked at 3-2. He thought the previous pitch was inside off the plate for ball 4. Boy, by the time Cody Reed got that glove up, that ball is almost to second base.
Breaking ball in there, strike one to Edward Olivares. And that's strike 3 called to retire the side. Reds will bat in the bottom of the 9th inning, trailing 7-3. Become a Red season ticket member and guarantee access to opening day and postseason tickets. Plus, enjoy exclusive perks and benefits, including the season ticket exchange program, offering flexibility throughout the year. Lock in the best seats today at reds.com/membership. Traha, the batter, batting from the right side. A 7-3 ball game with San Diego in front. Reds batting in the bottom of the 9th inning. And again, a reminder, the game will be on tomorrow, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That'll be courtesy of our friends from Fox Sports Milwaukee. Traha down on strikes for out number 1, and then Chris and I and Jim Day and company will be back with you on Fox Sports Ohio for our coverage of Reds baseball on Monday. And that is still going to be a 3:05 Eastern time start. Reds taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think it's the first time in many, many years, Chris, that we could actually at least say during a spring training game that there's at least a chance that you could be looking at an October series meeting.
Yeah.
With the Reds and the Dodgers getting together. I mean, look, the Dodgers have been there every year for what, the last 5, 6, 7 years in a row. They've been divisional champions.
And they've gotten better over the winter.
Yep. Strike 1 on Chris Oakey with 2 down, or 1 down here in the Cincinnati bottom of the 9th inning. Breaking ball in there, a strike. Like a lot of the people in the stands have their eye on a young kid. Obviously, there's a screen there, so he wasn't hit by a ball. We're not exactly sure what's going on, but I mean, there's an entire section over there very concerned about some young child sitting just up behind the San Diego bench. All the San Diego players and coaches are turned around to see what's going on. It's extremely scary situation, Chris, up where we're sitting right now.
Well, it's really cast a somber mood over everybody in that area. I mean, they're basically quiet, not saying a thing. So, I mean, they're calling for some different medical personnel, although it doesn't look, well, I can't tell.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I just pray it's all okay. We know this one's coming to an end. And that's the old ball game. San Diego a winner 7-3 over the Cincinnati Reds today. So the Reds try to get their first 3-game win streak of the spring, come up short. Raisel Iglesias gives up 4 of the 7 runs allowed by the Reds today. Starter Castillo gave up 1 in the first inning, so he'll ultimately be hung with the loss. Once more, reminder, our next game here on Fox Sports Ohio comes your way tomorrow. That'll be courtesy of Fox Sports Milwaukee. 3 o'clock, Reds and the Brewers. And then Chris and I'll be back with you and Jim Day on Monday for the Reds and the Dodgers. That'll be a 3:05 start on Fox Sports Ohio as well. For Chris, Jim, and our entire crew, Tom Brenneman, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great Leap Day. See you in March.